Hey guys, it's Miss Young. At this point, you should already have your notebook at your desk. You should also have 3 different color highlighters for you and your partner or your table or group, whatever you're set in. And you also need to make sure that you have a glue stick. Okay, so if we need to pause the video, go ahead and pause the video. Make sure you have those things and then move on when you're ready. Okay, so you need to you should be handing out the first page of notes. It is the New England page. It is a graphic organizer. You're going to glue it all the way down. In other words, the whole page will stick to the whole page in your notebook. No need to just glue by the spiral. You glue the whole thing down onto page 17. Yeah, that's going to be on the right. So glue it to page 17. So we're going to wait, make sure that you have that. Pretty much everybody has that glued in before we hand out the next page. I don't want you getting these pages mixed up because you're going to be completing 3 different sets today. It is doodle notes, which means you're going to draw pictures and write down blurbs of information onto the notes. Okay, so pause if you need to while we get everybody gluing these pages down. All right, so now we're going to pass out the Middle Colonies graphic organizer. This is going to be glued onto page 19. Again, glue it all the way down. And pause if you need to, so everybody gets this glue down in the right spot. And lastly, you should be getting a graphic organizer on the Southern Colonies. Glue this down to page 21. So today you're going to be writing down information about the ESPN of each region. And when I say ESPN, I am not talking about the TV channel about sports. Okay, I am talking about the economic information, social information, political information, and environmental/nature information for each and every region of colonies. Okay, so move on whenever you have everybody with all 3 pages glued onto the correct spot. All right, so our first page that you should be on is 17. We're going to cover our New England colonies. Remember, your New England colonies are the northernmost chunk of colonies. It includes Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. You are going to need to label these and color them. That's why I gave you 3 colors. So you need to pick one of the colors for New England and shade them in and label them. You're going to need to multitask. I'm going to bring up the information here in just a minute that you need to put into one of the boxes. You write that in, and when you're waiting on others, yeah, you label and color your New England colonies. Again, just pick one color for New England, then you're going to pick a color for the middle colonies, and then your third color is for your southern colonies. Okay, so you have 3 different colors before it's all over with. Okay? All right, so let's move on and take a look at our information. So we're going to start off with our economic activities. This involves what is going on to make money in the New England colonies. Remember, your New England colonies are New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. And notice Massachusetts is 2 chunks right now. This is what Massachusetts is. Okay? So don't be deceived. This is the big chunk is not Maine yet. It will be eventually. Okay. So what we have going on here is lots of land and trade. You have a ton of natural harbors. Okay, places to bring in goods, drop off goods, load up with new goods, and then go back out into the ocean and find a new place to trade. And a harbor is like an airport for boats. A lot of another thing that they were doing in the New England colonies is building ships. You have quite a bit of timber. Okay, so you would take those, cut down the trees, turn them into ships, sell them, make some money. You also have a lot of fishing and fur trade. Remember, you would hunt animals, take off the fur, and they would sell it for clothing and any use for staying warm, insulation, what have you. So pause as needed and move on when you're ready. All right, now we're going to take a look at the social. So drop down one box. Make sure you're putting these in the right box, okay? So this on New England colonies, you should be now in the bottom left portion of the page. So the people that live here and the religion in which they did was, we have Pilgrims. Okay, they came over for religious freedom, 1620. They are Christians. Okay, a type of Christianity. Puritans, same thing, came over for religious freedom, hooked up with the Pilgrims in Massachusetts. You had people like Anne Hutchinson, who was banished from Massachusetts for trying to have Bible studies, and she stepped in and decided, you know what, I'm going to find my own place, and founded Rhode Island for the purpose of religious freedom. Roger Williams followed her and did the same thing. Thomas Hooker, we know him, he founded Connecticut. So go ahead and write all this down, draw the pictures. I don't need you to be Picasso, I just need you to do the best that you can. There's a purpose for these pictures, and so I need you to make sure that you're doing it. Pause when you need, pause if you need to, and move on when you're ready. All right, now we are in the upper right-hand corner of the notes. We're going to be dealing with the political aspect. What different government systems did they have in place in the New England colonies? So the Mayflower Compact was written in 1620. It was written as a social contract. It established the ideas of self-government. Okay, so what happened was all the Pilgrims signed, or they created a set of laws, signed it before they ever stepped foot off the boat, and basically agreed to govern themselves. Okay, so we're dealing with these colonies right here. This is the area where, and probably more specifically, you had Plymouth, okay, right here in the star. And you know, Plymouth eventually turns into Massachusetts. Okay. Next, we have the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut. It was in 1639, 38-ish. It was the first written constitution in the colony and written by Thomas Hooker. So this particular government system was established here. Okay, so go ahead, pause if you need to, draw the pictures as best as you can. Make sure you have the information. And the final box of the New England colony is nature or environment. It's just the land. What is the land like? It is super poor rocky soil because you get the Appalachian Mountains. Okay, the Appalachian Mountains run right along here. Okay, so you have all this mountainous land kind of taking up space, kind of messing with your quality of soil. Okay, notice how in the South it really isn't there. That's why the South has good stuff. The New England colonies, however, have poor rocky soil, and because they're in the north, you know, and they're further from the equator, they have long, harsh winters, but they do have dense forests, which is an advantage. Short growing seasons as well. Okay, so you're going to have to, honestly, farming is not your key economic activity because it's just not ideal. Okay, so draw your pictures, write your information, and move on when you're ready. All right, so now you need to turn the page and make sure you are on page 19. You're going to be taking a look at this particular graphic organizer, and it is going to cover the ESPN of the Middle Colonies. Before we jump into actually writing, let's have a quick conversation. Okay, why are they also called Mid-Atlantic? Notice that below the word middle, I have the word Mid-Atlantic. Why would they be called Mid-Atlantic? You kind of have to understand that because sometimes on questions, on tests, it can be used interchangeably. You can say Mid-Atlantic colonies, and you still need to know it's the same thing as the middle colonies. Okay, so quickly have a conversation, pause if you need to, and discuss what is it that makes that have that second name. All right, so what you should have discovered is that it's basically because they're the middle colonies and they're near the Atlantic Ocean. All right, so what could we rename the other regions? What could we say about the New England colonies? So quickly have a conversation with your group and discuss what could we call the other regions? If we're going to use the Atlantic Ocean as a way to describe the location of colonies, come up with a name. What could you come up with? Pause if you need to. Okay, so let's get to this. Here's your 13 colonies, or excuse me, here's your middle colonies. All right, we have New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. Okay, again, you're going to color and label while you're waiting on others to finish writing. Okay, so you get a multitask. So let's talk about economics. So you should be in the upper left-hand corner. So as far as what the middle colonies do to make money, again, land and trade. They do lots of timber or lumbering where they cut down trees and ship them off to a place to be processed and turned into something fancy. Okay, we have lots of cattle producing, agriculture as well. Okay, so they grow wheat. Farming is very popular in the middle colonies, specifically this wheat, and they nicknamed it the bread basket. Okay, so draw your pictures, write your words, pause if you need to, move on when you're ready. All right, continuing with our middle colonies, we have the social aspect, people. Okay, so who came over here and why? The Dutch came for economic reasons. They're the ones who kind of established farms and towns and forts, specifically settled into New York. Okay, so these people came to, oops, that's too far. Let's try that again. These people came, boom, there we go, came to New York, okay? The Quakers came, they settled in Pennsylvania. They came seeking religious freedom, and the guy, William Penn, who established Pennsylvania, said to the Quakers, you know what, you can live here, that's fine. As a matter of fact, whatever government system you set up, make it based off your religious beliefs. And the Quakers are pretty stoked about that. So the Quakers settled in Pennsylvania, and they embraced anybody and everybody. They're like the flower children, like I explained to you on our last set of notes. So draw your pictures, write your words, move on when you're ready. All right, now we are in the upper left-hand corner talking about political aspects of the middle colonies. Pretty much what you need to know about the government systems here in the New England colonies is about Pennsylvania, and that William Penn allowed the government to be determined by their religion. And last but not least, our land. What was the land like in the middle colonies? Well, if you think about it, it's pretty brutal up in the New England colonies, and as you tend to move closer to the equator and you get the mountains kind of out of your way, it starts to settle and get a little bit better. So in the middle colonies, you do have fertile soil. There are lots of natural resources such as mining, and then thick forests, and the winters are a little bit shorter here. All right, so go ahead and draw your pictures, write your words, move on when you're ready. Okay, so this is going to be our final page of notes. You should be on page 21 with your Southern Colonies graphic organizer. So here are your Southern Colonies. You have Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Again, color and label intermittently as you have a chance. Let's take a look at our notes though. All right, so what activities are taking place in the Southern Colonies that help the people make money? Again, we have land and trade. You have cash crops such as cotton and tobacco. And those cash crops are grown on plantation farms. Now, because there's so much good soil here, people began to grow crops, and then you make money, and then you buy more land, and the more land you get, you need somebody to work it, so then you have slaves, and these all kind of work together to create these plantation farms utilizing slave labor to harvest your crops. So again, draw your pictures, write your words. I don't need it perfect, I just need it done. Move on when you're ready. Okay, now we're going to talk about the people in the Southern Colonies. In the South, you have the Catholics coming in. They were seeking religious freedom. They were not cutting it in England. They got kicked out pretty much and said, you either go or you either switch over or you go. And so they came in and they settled in Maryland. Maryland is this really squished, it looks like it's been squished between Pennsylvania and Maryland, or excuse me, Virginia. So to me, it looks almost like a squished piece of gum between the two colonies. In the South, you'll see that it is sparsely populated. Okay, they don't live close together because there's so much farmland in between each home. So it's like you have 20 acres between you and the next house, or probably even more. You also had lots of wealthy plantation farmers. You had a whole lot more poor white farmers. And then you had slaves that were there to do the work. So go ahead and draw your pictures, write your words, pause if you need to, move on when you're done. All right, now let's cover our political aspect of the Southern colonies. This is the government systems going on. Okay, Virginia House of Burgess, 1619. This is the government system that you would have found in Virginia. Remember, Virginia had Jamestown. Jamestown was the first permanent settlement. Jamestown turns into Virginia. Okay, and in Virginia, they realized they needed some sort of government system to help keep stability. And so they created the first representative government in the colonies. And these people, what would happen is the whole colony had tons and tons and tons of citizens. And so the citizens would vote on someone to represent their town. And so each town had a representative, and those representatives would go to a central location and talk about things that needed to be fixed in the colony and in the towns, and they would vote on it. So you didn't do a vote for the all the people. These representatives voted on behalf of the citizens. And they did that because it was just too difficult to do a direct vote. So the citizens would vote on a representative who was going to think and feel the way that they did, so that when the representatives did make decisions for the colony and for the towns, it was somewhat like they wanted. Now, in the Virginia House of Burgess, another key point is that they had 3 separate branches, all thanks to a guy named Charles de Montesquieu. And so you can see, and I want you to put this in here, okay? This is my dumb thing to remember, smart thing, is that in the Virginia House of Burgess, okay, we had our 3, we had 1, we had 2, we had 3 branches, thanks to Charles de Montesquieu, okay, coming up with the idea of dividing power. And Montesquieu has 3 syllables, just like we have 3 branches. So draw everything, write everything, move on when you're ready. All right, our final box for all of our notes today is the nature and land of the Southern colonies. All right, so this is where it starts, you know, the soil's getting better. Earlier you saw how the Appalachian Mountains runs right there, and then it kind of cuts off at the edge here, okay? And so you have better soil in the Southern colonies because the Appalachian Mountains aren't cutting into that as bad. You have super rich soil, a good climate because you're closer to the equator, so warmer climate, milder winters. This means you have a longer growing season. That's partly what's responsible for that plantation system, because when you can grow crops more and you can have larger chunks of land and you're going to yield more fruit or more of the fruit or vegetables from it, you take advantage of it. Okay, so they also had natural harbors. Okay, lots of jagged edges along the coast that allow boats to come in and drop off goods. But their main resource, or their main source of income was all due to the land and having these plantation farms. Draw your pictures, write your words, move on when you're ready. All right, so now you're going to do a quick write. Your quick write is going to go on either page 16, 18, or 20. So you just glued notes on 17, 19, and 21. Your notes always go on the right. You process information in your brain on the left, and that's what you're going to do. So you're going to be writing a letter home to Britain. You tell your family all about life in the colony you choose, and then you tell them all about that region's ESPN, economic, social, political, and nature information. That's exactly what you took notes on today. So yes, I expect great detail. I also expect you to do this in a format in which you're talking like you truly live there, and it is awesome. Tell me what job you have. Tell me what kind of house you have. Tell me what the land is like for you and how do you benefit from it. Explain life with the weather. Okay, be descriptive. You have a full page to write. It is a letter home to Britain, so write it up, give information. Now, how do you determine exactly what page does this go on? Well, here's what you do. It all depends on the region or colony that you choose to write about. So for example, if you choose to write about Virginia and the southern colonies, then you write the letter on page 20, because guess what? Your southern colony notes are on page 21. Okay, so again, write your letter, be descriptive, use your P strategy to help you if you need to. You can start it out with, Dear Mom, I found a home here in Virginia. Virginia's in the southern colonies. You wouldn't believe what life is like here. And then go on to describe the ESPN of your entire region, okay, and give information. Talk like it's you. Talk like you really live there, okay? So you're going to get the remainder of the class to do this. When you're done, make sure that you put your notebooks back on the shelf, okay? And then we will move on from there.